What the hell? Where am I? Oh, uh, hello. You know, I'm not sure where I am, but this looks an awful lot like my childhood and what school looked like when I was a kid. There's not a computer in sight. I was basically taught by dinosaurs, and if we wanted a hot lunch, we had to make a fire like this little girl here to heat our food. See, we didn't have much technology when I was in school. No computers, no cell phones, no tablets. We didn't even have the older technology like overhead projectors until I was in junior high. It was my grandfather who introduced me to the world of computers. He was fascinated by them, and he foresaw how important they would eventually become. When I was 8 or 9 years old, around 1996, he gave my family and I our first computer, and he set us up with this new thing called dial up internet. I had a computer before the classrooms at my school had them. Anyway, my grandfather sat me down one afternoon and told me, "Make sure you know how to use a computer. Someday everything we do will be on one of these machines." I was fascinated by what computers and the internet offered, so I took his advice and learned everything I could. As it turns out, his advice was prophetic. Computers are everywhere now, and we live in an increasingly digital world. I was lucky. I had someone around that taught me a lot about computers and other various emerging technologies. It prepared me to use technology in my adult life, and because of him, I am well versed in the world of technology. You know what? This is freaking me out. I gotta get out of here. Hold on a second. I'm gonna use the magic of technology to get out of here. Phew, much better. Anyways, where was I? Oh, right. Unfortunately, not every child has someone around like my grandfather. And unlike the days of my childhood, when household computers were in their infancy, technology is evolving at an increasingly high rate. What's even more unfortunate is that a recent study from the National Center of Education Statistics found that between 9 and 12 million students don't have adequate access to the internet at home. So not only do some of these children not have someone like my grandfather, they don't even have the tools which would allow them to learn about it on their own. So how are these students supposed to build their digital literacy and learn how to use various digital tools? They will be expected to know how to use them as they age, and by the time they reach college or enter the workforce, it's assumed they will have established their digital literacy. This is where schools and educators can and should help. Schools and educators that understand the importance of developing students' digital literacy can provide for students that don't have adequate access to these tools at home. Now, here's the real problem. What if the educators themselves aren't proficient in digital tools and technology? How are students supposed to build their digital literacy if the educators don't know how to use or aren't comfortable using technology? Teachers are expected to be able to teach things like reading, writing, and math, but often the extent with which they use digital tools and technology in the classroom is left to the individual teacher's discretion. And often, these teachers do not want to add technology to their curriculums. Let's look at some research. In a 2018 study by the ECA, researchers found that over half of the educators involved in the study believe that early curriculum should not include provisions for developing children's proficiency with digital technologies. When researchers attempted to discover why these educators felt this way, they asked questions inquiring into each teacher's personal confidence and competency using technology. Interestingly enough, each educator that did not feel comfortable using technology was also one of the educators that believed early curriculums should not develop children's proficiency with digital technologies. Another study found in the Journal of Digital Learning showed some eerily similar results to the ECA study. This study involved 105 educators across multiple levels of education. Each educator either chose to teach using technology or was required to teach using technology. Educators were asked to answer a questionnaire self evaluating their digital competence and asked whether they felt creating digital learning environments was problematic or not problematic. Only 27.9% of educators reported their competence as high. The remainder reported either average or low. 13.9% of the educators felt creating a digital learning environment was problematic. Educators that reported high competence felt creating digital learning environments was not problematic. However, like the previous study, the educators that reported low competency were the educators that felt creating digital learning environments was problematic. Do we see a trend here? So, why does any of this matter? Well, a 2020 report from the Pew Research Center showed that 52% of adults are hesitant when using digital tools. So, parents can't always be relied upon to be a guiding force in building their child's digital literacy. Furthermore, as I stated previously, children in poorer areas do not always have accessible technology in their home. Researchers at a public university in a Gulf state studied the effects of technology on first year college students. They looked at the digital tools students used and studied whether a student's accessibility and competency with these tools affected their grades. Spoiler alert, it did. The results showed that 60% of the students achieved higher marks in a blended learning environment, mainly because they could make use of their digital tools. Furthermore, students with prior education in technology were more easily able to navigate new, evolving, and changing technologies. It turns out a child's ability to navigate our digital world and be proficient in digital literacy is actually really important, and it only becomes more important as they age. So don't be that teacher that ignores technology. We have just as much of a responsibility to teach children about technology as we do math or reading. Oh, wow. I went way over 5 minutes. Uh, Gotta go. Bye!